Hello and welcome to this video lesson. I'm Chris Robinson and I'm going to show you how we can use RAW to deal with a tricky lighting situation and get the perfect still life image. There's a full step-by-step in the magazine that reveals how we created the setup for this picture, so check that out too. First though, let's take a look at the finished version of this image. Now you'll see we have plenty of background detail in the dark areas here, but also detail in the brightly lit burning candle. Now normally to expose for this would be very tricky, but because we've shot this in RAW mode, we can use the digital photo conversion method to bring out the hidden detail of our shot. This involves making multiple exposures from the same RAW file. Now this sounds very technical, but let's see how easy it really is. Let's open up our RAW file and find out how it's done. Let's close this finished image down by just clicking the small X in the top right there, and then go to File and Open, and the file we want is the file called Candle there. So let's click on that. Now that's a RAW file from a Canon camera. I'm going to click Open, and Photoshop Elements is launching its RAW converter software. Right, though there's some quite nice details going on in the picture, with the depth of field here and the nice shadows behind the candle, the whole thing looks a little bit flat, the colours aren't very saturated, and the contrast is lacking. It's also apparent that we have a big problem here with the candle. This area where it's burning quite brightly is lacking in detail and very burnt out, so that's not ideal. But of course, using RAW, we can bring that detail back. Now the first conversion I'm going to make from this RAW file is going to be for the overall look of the image, so we're going to concentrate on getting the tones in the area surrounding the candle and the background completely right, nice and punchy and nicely saturated, so we don't need to worry about this area in the middle of the image. So let's see how we can do this using the sliders on the right hand side. Now we can see that Elements has applied some automatic corrections to our file, but we're going to tweak these so we can get the best out of the picture. So starting from the top here, let's work our way down. I'm going to leave the white balance controls, temperature and tint exactly as they are. Moving on to exposure, I'm going to enter a value of 0.4 in there to just increase that slightly. There we go. Next I'm going to increase the value of the shadow setting to around 6, and you can see the contrast is looking better already. Now you can either enter the values into these windows here or actually use the sliders to change the values as well. It's entirely up to you. Okay, on to brightness. I'm just going to take that down to around 50. Next is the contrast, which I'm going to increase to 20. And finally saturation, I'm going to bump that up to +10. And by simply making these few adjustments, you can see the image is much improved already. So now I'm going to save this file out by clicking the Save button at the bottom there, and I'm going to name it Candle Overall, and we're going to save this as a DNG file into the same folder as our original RAW file. So let's click Save to do that. Now for the clever part. What we're going to do is make a second conversion from this same RAW file, but reduce the exposure so the detail from the candle is brought back. So let's do that now. Let's go to the exposure slider and just take that along to the left, and you can see the picture is becoming very dark, but we are bringing back the wick of the candle and the flame and the detail that is in there, stored in the RAW file. When you're happy with the amount of detail you've returned to the image, we're going to click Save, and this time we're going to name the file Candle Detail, and we'll click Save to save that file into the same folder as the other conversion that we made earlier. Okay, so that's our two conversions made, so we can now cancel out of the RAW conversion software for now. So just click Cancel down there. Right, so we're back in Elements now, and we want to open up the two conversions that we've made from our RAW file. So go up to File and Open, and then you'll be able to find the two different conversions. That's Candle Overall and Candle Detail. And what I'm going to do is hold down the Control key and click on Candle Detail, so we have the two files highlighted there, and that's going to tell Elements to open up both of these files. So just click Open to start that process. Right, so we're back in the RAW conversion software. That's fine. Click Open to take that back to Elements. And you can see Photoshop's also opened up the second image that we highlighted. So again, click Open to take that through to Elements. Okay, so we can only see one of our images here. The other one is hidden behind it on the screen, and to reveal it I'm going to click this button here just to go into multi-window mode, which will display the pictures in separate windows. I'm going to take this image here, which is our overall candle. Next, press Ctrl and A on the keyboard, which will select all of that image. Then I'm going to hit Ctrl and C to copy that picture. Then click back onto the candle detail shot, and let's just go full screen with this so we can see clearly what's going on. And then you can hit Ctrl and V on the keyboard, which will paste our candle overall file on top of the detail shot. Now if we quickly bring the layers palette onto the screen, you can find that in Window and Layers. You'll be able to see our two images sitting one above the other. Now what we're going to do is use the soft-edged eraser to delete this area where the detail has been burnt out, and that will actually reveal through the image underneath, which is the image with the detail in the candle. I'll just move this out of the way, and let's just hit Ctrl and plus on the keyboard a couple of times so we can see very clearly what's happening. Now if you hold down the space bar as well, you can navigate around the image by clicking and dragging it. Okay, so click onto the eraser tool, and it's already set to a soft-edged brush here, which is great, and the size of it looks alright. If you want to increase the size or decrease the size, you can use the square brackets keys on the keyboard, like so. Now before you begin, just check the opacity of the tool, and you can see that at the moment it's set to 100%. Now this would be none too subtle, so what I'm going to do is click in there and drag that slider down to around 40% should be okay. So click off that, and now you can start erasing to bring back the detail. So let's just click and drag, and instantly you can see all that lovely detail on the candle coming back through, and we're ending up with a much more balanced and pleasing look to the image. That looks okay, so I'll hit Ctrl and the minus key just to zoom out a little bit. I'm now going to flatten down the two separate layers to end up with one single layer. So go up to the layer menu there, and just go to Flatten Image, which will combine the two separate layers. Now at this stage, seeing the two different exposures combined together, I think it would benefit from a subtle tweak to the contrast. And to do this, I'm going to use the Levels command. So you can bring this up by hitting Ctrl and L on the keyboard to bring up the Levels window. And all I'm going to do is bring the left-hand shadow slider just in a little bit, just to really make the most of those dark, rich tones. And also, I'm just going to nudge the right-hand slider for the lighter tones just in a little bit. Yes, that looks okay to me. So click OK to apply the changes. And finally, I'm just going to introduce a little bit more warmth into the picture. And to do this, I'm going to use Hue and Saturation. And to bring this up, I'm going to go to the Enhance menu, down to Adjust Color, and across to Adjust Hue and Saturation. Or you can hit Ctrl and U on the keyboard. Right, let's move that across there so we can see our picture. And to introduce a bit more warmth into the picture, I'm just going to take the Hue slider across to the left, just to make it a little bit more red. Something like that looks okay. -6, -5 should be fine. And a little bit more saturation will just help those really rich tones and colours to really come through. So I'm going to go for a saturation of around +16 should be fine. That looks good to me, so I'm going to click OK to apply those changes. And that's the image completed. So let's quickly look back at what we've done to this picture. We've used the raw converter to create a perfectly exposed scene from two separate raw conversions. We've then blended those two images together in Elements, we've tweaked the contrast, and then finally warmed up the whole image to really make the most of the rich tones, and added a bit of extra saturation just to bring out the colours. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.